Okay, it's June 29th, 2018, and I thought I would show you the different plants and gardens that we have. And first thing you notice is we got some poppies. I got the poppy seed on Amazon.com, and they did very well. For some reason, they're not in one section, but they are in this other half. The lantana is starting to grow in some places, but as you can see down here, I think I've lost about 7 plants, 7 out of 30, so that's not good. I'm actually going to try another Miss Huff in there and see if it does any better. But the allium that I have as a border, that's actually looking pretty nice. And so this area, actually I planted some Gomphrena in here, Globe Amaranth, so we'll see how that does. I think we'll go around the back here. And the first thing you'll see is this Limelight Hydrangea, and it's actually starting to go into bud. This is only the second year, I believe. So this is going to be a spectacular hedge. It's going to be about 8 foot tall, 8 foot wide, and should look very nice. The spice bush is doing pretty well. I still need to cut out about some of the older limbs there. But as we go around the back here, this is a little bit shadier area. We have some wild senna, which always does well, drops a lot of seeds. And the ironweed, again the Slender mountain mint, this is probably one of my best plants for pollinators. In fact, they might be the best plants. So this area is a little wild back here. I haven't been back here in a while, and this is a type of allium that did pretty well around the mailbox, but it got too tall for the mailman, so it's actually brought back here. And this is a plant, I thought it was the cup plant, but I'm not quite sure. So it's actually growing here, and we're going to see what this is. This came back from seed. Got a little kale for the cabbage whites. Unfortunately, the rabbits are eating my aster. Not much I can do about that. I'm trying some deer spray. But again, this area is a little wild. But I've got a solidago in the back there I want to try to keep sort of clean, so I need to clean this out a little bit. The rudbeckia, the annual rudbeckia has come out. It's actually been blooming for about a month. And on the other side, this is the Rudbeckia fulgida. It's actually only got like one blossom here, and so it's going to be probably blooming in another week or two, and I'm hoping it blooms for almost all the summer. I do have some milkweed in pots. I think my little test was 20 versus 35, and really the 20 plants, 20 seeds in a pot did very well. I got a lot of seedlings from the fulgida, so I can move those, and I have done that. And again, this bee balm over here is spectacular. It is really looking nice. So this is a pretty nice area. And we'll go back over here real quickly. And here's the fireworks that I normally put back here. One plant will cover this whole area, and it's basically there to cover up the gas. And of course we've got the false nettle over here, which does pretty well. And my milkweed, which keeps falling over. This is a special type of milkweed. And this is a Supertunia Bubblegum, the pink one is, and you can see how well it's done. Unfortunately, it's not a pollinator plant, so I just did this for fun, just to see how it would turn out, and it is spectacular. And I've got 5 other pots of that I'm actually growing to sort of make a nice little border here. If you go into the butterfly garden, you can see all of the milkweed that I have here. It's done pretty well. This is actually a little test. I planted some milkweed on March the 10th, and there's only one plant. I planted 25 seeds, so the answer to the question is, can I plant my milkweed early? The answer is not too early. because I think probably most of the seeds were, you know, they rotted in the soil. But on the other hand, here are some milkweed seeds that I planted May the 2nd, and they're doing very well. I've actually taken a lot of these little seedlings to fill in. So the other milkweed, I was trying to think, can I stop planting seed in February or March? And the answer is probably no, not if you want some really nice milkweed plants. The May 2nd plants have got a long way to catch up, so I'll probably keep doing seed around inside in March. And this area over here is for the painted ladies. I've got Pearly Everlasting, and it's doing pretty well. You can see I need to cut back some of this stuff, some of the Maltese cross, but that's easy. The Pussy Toes is doing well. It makes a nice mat. It's not real pretty, but it's a good nectar plant, or a good host plant for painted ladies. And up here you could see the really dark pink phlox, which turned out pretty nice. Again, this is just sort of a mix of plants in here. Doing a little test here of Ipomopsis. It's this little fuzzy thing there. And here we've got some black swallowtails. You can probably see some of the caterpillars there chewing away. There's one, there's two, and there's probably a lot of other eggs in there somewhere. So this whole area is doing pretty well for the black swallowtails. Also, the giant swallowtails will lay eggs on this. Again, nothing too spectacular over here, just the regular standard stuff. This little Coreopsis looks very nice. There are a few pollinators that go to it, but not a whole lot. So compared to the Slender Mountain Mint, which I have here, it's just maybe 1% of the pollinators are going to go to it. And of course, we have the bumblebees on Echinacea. So out here, this yellow stuff is called Helenium amarum, or sneezeweed. This actually reseeded itself, and so it's a really nice annual. It's a native annual that does well. And this hackberry tree, I'm keeping it down to shape, but I'm not going to be cutting it anymore because I've seen hackberry butterfly laying eggs on that, so that's going to stay there. And some of my asters are coming back. Oh, and here's some of my swimming pool Rudbeckia. Not quite sure. They sort of have a slender, more slender leaf, so I'm testing these out to see how they do. And actually, here's Carl. This is a really nice sedum. And again, here's a woods aster that I put in, but I got a fence around it because of the bunny rabbits. And then here, this is another ironweed. You can see how tall it gets. I actually gave a good portion of it what they call the Chelsea chop, which I cut it back about a third or maybe even a half, so I can get different blooms. And in here is where I have put some new zinnias. These are ones that are supposed to be resistant to mildew. We'll see. It's got a pretty good location. And then here, this is an annual salvia, pink salvia, that I got from somebody on one of the websites. And so it is a fantastic grower. I don't know that it's quite, it doesn't quite have as many flowers as my Lady in Red. More Gomphrena, more lantana. Here's a hibiscus here that is spectacular. I think it's a vibrant red. And penstemons falling over, so I'm cutting that penstemon back to the ground. Here's some more echinacea I planted last year that I can use, I can dig up. I don't have a whole lot of luck with the gigantic Echinaceas, moving those. They don't seem to like that, but that's the way it goes. So the rule is just move your Echinacea early. Again, here's some more Limelight I just planted this year, and they're doing very well in this spot. I've got some Mother of Time in between them, just to sort of fill in the slots. Here's my black and blue salvia that comes back every year. It's very nice, very pretty. The hummingbirds like that. And got a couple of butterfly bushes here. This is probably my best one. I hate deadheading it, but it still draws the butterflies in. And here's some lantana that came back last year. In fact, this is the only lantana that came back. I had 3 plants. Sort of see that this middle plant is not blooming quite as well as the others, but it did come back. And this whole area used to have some Shasta daisies, but they died out. They're getting old or something. So this area I just planted a couple days ago. It's a dwarf fern leaf dill, which at least at the Missouri Botanical Garden I took some pictures, and it was actually the best pollinator plant there. So, and then here's the 2 beds that are up front. I'm trying some different stuff here. I got Wendy's Wish in back, which is growing pretty well. I think it's going to make a nice hedge. And then I have a real mix of lots of different stuff. So this is the Zinnia Angustifolia. And I started, some of these are seeds that I planted and I brought out. I also have some seedlings out there that are starting out. And also here's another pack of, in fact I got a whole tray of these yellow zinnias. So we'll see how everything does. It also appears that I've got quite a few lantana seedlings in here, so we're going to let everything grow and see how it works out. I did plant a few of those zinnias in here, and also I planted 3 gomphrena, the purple gomphrena. This area out here really takes care of itself. I really don't do anything to this very much. It's funny, I got a tiny little sunflower, not quite sure, I didn't plant that, but it showed up. In fact, there's a little bumblebee on there. So this is a nice little mix that takes care of itself, which is nice. The middle garden in my front yard is pretty much maxed out. I probably need to cut down all of these little seedlings. I do have a dahlia over here that's coming up. It'll sort of be interesting to see. And somewhere in here I do have another Rudbeckia, but I think it's gotten covered up with all of this growth. So I've got a lot of cutting I need to do here. If you look out in my milkweed garden, this is swamp milkweed around the sides, and then tropical milkweed in the middle. And the tropical is doing pretty well. I've had to replace a few plants. And this is a Hydrangea Paniculata that's doing pretty well. And it's always a nice looking plant. You can see by the size of the base how old it is. And if we look over here, we'll start. So this is the Walker's Low, and if you look at it, it's sort of pretty well past its flowering, so I could probably cut it back a little bit. I have the regular Shasta daisies and sedums, and back here I'm testing out pink cleome, and just a nice little mix of all sorts of stuff here, a little jungle. So I'm testing here some of the fulgida plants that were in pots versus plants that were just dug up and put into the ground. And actually the ones who were just dug up and put into the ground look better. So probably wait till plants are bigger and move them at that point. Dig them up and put them to the place where you want them to be. Here's the wraps. You can see it in there. That's what I call the wraps Agastache, but it is not doing nearly as well as I hoped it would. There's some orange cosmos that somebody sent me. I'm testing out. And here's some hollyhocks, red small ones, that I'm testing out too. And so I've actually got a fair amount of hydrangeas coming up here. I've got one. Yeah, I got two there. So I've got some nice hydrangeas coming up to fill in. That should be nice. And that is about it as far as anything unusual. So hopefully you'll enjoy this video.